Welcome to Hawaii's Best Travel Podcast, where we help you prepare for your next trip to Hawaii. Discover the experiences, businesses, and stories that make Hawaii the Aloha state. And now, your host, Bryan Murphy.
Aloha and welcome to episode 49 of Hawaii's Best, where we help prepare you for your next trip to Hawaii. I'm your host, Bryan Murphy, the owner of Hawaii's Best. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. You know, when traveling to Oahu, there are plenty of options of places to stay in Waikiki. Now, as exciting as fast-paced as Waikiki is, some travelers desire a more relaxed experience for their Hawaiian vacation, and especially traveling as a family. Now, with limited options on the North Shore and east side of Oahu to stay, the west side has grown and developed really over the past couple decades. And the city of Kapolei is home to a few large resorts in the Ko Olina area. However, there's so much more to explore and experience right in the heart of Kapolei. And the Residence Inn opened in the fall of 2019, and it's an extended stay hotel by Marriott. It's located right in Kapolei. And on today's episode, I am joined by Bryan Hunnings, who is the general manager. And I'm also joined by Kelly Kitashima, who is the director of sales here at the Residence Inn in Kapolei. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk story with Bryan and Kelly from the Residence Inn.
Let's talk story.
Kelly and Bryan, thank you so much for jumping on Hawaii's Best with us today. Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. Fabulous. I always say it's another day in Kapolei.
Right. I love that. Bryan, what about you?
Hey, West Side is best side. What can I say?
Yeah.
So Kelly, let's talk a little bit about how you came to Residence and maybe a little background, and then Bryan will hear from you as well. But Kelly, a little bit about your background and who you are and what you do.
Oh my goodness. Do we have 30 minutes?
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm a local girl, born and raised, and a proud graduate of Kamehameha schools, if you're familiar with our local rival high schools here. But I went to the Ninth Island for college. UNLV,
Vegas, yeah.
Go Rebels, had an amazing, super awesome hotel program, very hands-on. I did come home after college, got married to my husband, who also is in the hotel industry. I was more of an operations gal. I worked in convention services, catering for a long time. We had a 5-year-old son at the time, and so I kind of gravitated towards more of a sales role, which is Monday through Friday-ish. Fast forward, Bryan and I actually worked together in another lifetime when Starwood still existed in Waikiki. I was part of the complex team there, complex sales team that encompassed the iconic Moana Surf Rider, the Royal Hawaiian, Sheraton Waikiki. Since then, we've expanded our family, had a daughter, and I've grown in my role as far as director of sales at different global brands, including the Hyatt, also the Kahala. I took a 2-year little stunt at Expedia. So it was so fun to get to learn the back end technology side of things. Got to open the Modern Honolulu, which is a boutique hotel in Waikiki. And, believe it or not, in 2018, I pivoted 180% and actually ran for office because there were a lot of things that I was passionate about here in our local, actually county. So
also ran for local,
here. City council. Yeah, exactly. So 2018, we were shy about 9 points. And so, all meant to be because I ended up here at the Residence Inn Kapolei, shortly thereafter the campaign. So Bryan and I kind of reunited after not working, together for about maybe 5 or 7 years-ish.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
About that.
But in Hawaii, it's very rare to open a property from the ground up, meaning wood, foundation, concrete. Usually it's a older building.
This was a dirt lot.
It's a refurbishment, right?
Especially, in Waikiki.
Right. It's like a 1950s building. Yeah. You're just changing the wallpaper and the painting and the entrance and the exit. This one, the plans are already done, but to see it come from ground up and you're putting linen in rooms and, your heart, we joke because it's like you're birthing a child because that's cool, how long it took. Yeah. And so to be part of this opening team, but pre-opening, while Bryan and I shared a bell closet across the street was super special, but like so rewarding, now that we're here and open for a little over a year.
Definitely has bonded us, that's for sure.
I bet. Yeah. Bryan, what about you? What's led you to this?
My
property?
background is in communications, so and I don't use that degree at all nowadays. I actually went into hospitality. I worked in a number of resorts in the mainland. My first real hotel job was at the Phoenician Resort in Scottsdale. That was like the birth of Starwood. And then when that happened, I got sent to Vegas, ironically, because Starwood owned Caesar's Palace for like a hot minute.
Oh, okay.
And I was tapped on the shoulder and told, we're going to go compete with Bellagio. Go over there. And I'm like looking at this rundown dump with like the bed that's rotating and the champagne glass tub. And I'm like, there is no way this is going to compete with Bellagio. But I was there for 2 years and that was quite an experience. And then I moved to Maui at the beginning of 2000. I've been here in Hawaii ever since and started at the Grand Wailea. Was on Maui for about 8 years, then moved to Waikiki, where I met Miss Kelly Kitashima at the Kioia complex, and started the Moana Surfrider, the first lady of Waikiki, and an amazing property. And then worked my way up to the regional director of food and beverage for all of Starwood for Hawaii and French Polynesia.
Yeah.
So at one point I had 13 hotels underneath me. I was the director of food and beverage for Sheraton Waikiki and then 3 in Polynesia, or French Polynesia, I should say. So half my life was living out of a suitcase.
Yeah.
And then basically got a unique opportunity to go to Turtle Bay on the North Shore and become the hotel manager there, and was there for 3 years, and knowing full well that they were trying to sell the property, but it was the longest sale of my life. I swear. This is like every week there's a new set of owners going on. We're buying this place. Okay, sure. Take a number.
Bud.
But then, from there it was like, happenstance happened to meet the ownership group here, and they were like, hey, what are you going to do? You just sold Turtle Bay to Blackstone.
Okay.
What's the next thing? And I was like, I really don't have any plans. And they're like, well, we're building a hotel from the ground up. Would you be interested? And I was like, what? I was like nobody gets to do that.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of intrigued me, and the fact that most of my background had been luxury. I mean, select service is completely a different beast for both Kelly and I.
Different beast. That's like an
we take a very luxury mindset here.
Okay.
But then kind of just looking at, where Kapolei was, and everybody was like, you're going where? Kapolei? Like, is that Ko Olina? No. It's
Kapolei?
before you get to
or like
Ko
the baby
Olina.
sister.
So I call Kel literally was the very first person in my mind. And I was like, she's been out of it for a hot second. Let's give her a call and see if she's ready to jump back in. And then we spent a year in the bell closet next door at the embassy, and we built this beautiful baby right here.
I mean, it's like, when you put it to words, it's hilarious.
Right.
But it's so true.
So, okay. So then you go to like an already established spot and you kind of jump on and you do your thing. You tweak this and tweak that or whatever. I act like I know what I'm talking about. Like
it sounds good. Go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on it, Bryan, but like maybe from both of your perspectives, what was so attractional? I know you talking about from like the ground up, but why? Like, why is that attractional? And what about that kind of drew you to here?
For me, I mean, it's just, the opportunity to put in years and years of best practices, and having been able to be mentored by an incredible variety of Hawaii professionals. And one thing if you go into an existing property and you try to change the culture, it's really hard. Like going into Moana Surfrider,
I bet, yeah.
108 years when I walked into the place, trying to change that culture, not so much going to happen. I mean, we did. It took a long time. Whereas if you build from the ground up, you can make an immediate impact and really kind of set the bar. And the best thing about Kelly and I is we're such yin and yang. Like, she's the polar opposite of me on a lot of things. I mean, base level, we agree on a lot of things, but for what we're passionate about, it's two different perspectives. And to really sit down and go, look, like, if we're really going to be part of this Kapolei master plan, another mall, 6 new hotels, what does that really look like? What are we going to do? And for me, it was like living in Waikiki for a good 4 years. It was always like listening to the stories of the people that lived on the west side that didn't get hired into Ko Olina and would drive 45 minutes to an hour and a half from this side to get into Waikiki, and waking up at 4:30 so they could get to work by 8:00, and just thinking of the quality of life and what did that mean for them, and then being able to provide a great quality job on this side, which when you look at Oahu, where do the majority of true local people live? They live on the west side.
Right.
They don't live in Waikiki. They don't live in Honolulu. They live on the west side. And have that as a true representation of what the culture is like here on Oahu was, for me, what really intrigued me. And then knowing Kelly and her background and how passionate she is about it, I was like, man, we got to team up on this.
Oh yeah, community first. But to echo on what Bryan said, though, what was so cool about the culture, like you said, you can go into Moana and it's hard to change culture, but Bryan was so brilliant at building the culture. It's like, how can you ever say and put on a resume that you built a team, you built the culture? And fun fact, like 98.9% of all of our associates live on the leeward coast of Oahu, which was the true intent. And so I think, not going back to my roots, but as a native Hawaiian, as a local girl, I truly think aside from my servant heart, I always love to learn. And I've always just had this like weird growth mindset that like, I love constantly being challenged. I love to learn. And to me, like Waikiki was Waikiki, right? It's like turn and burn. It was like, what hotel are you going to go to next? I do live like 12 minutes away. So that was very appealing and I didn't have to fight traffic. So I'm not going to lie. Personally, that was like very, very attractive. But, to work alongside Bryan again, to open a hotel and to build the culture and that sense of responsibility, like Bryan talked about, to the community. There was so much, I think, the West Side is almost, I hate to say this, but like neglected in some ways. But I thought, with our strengths that we could contribute so much more with this little gem. So here we are today, definitely pivoting, from COVID and putting community first. And that's always kind of been, and like Bryan said, yin yang, but at the core in our hearts, it's always been community first.
Yeah. So you guys,
super proud.
You major on the majors. And you have those minors where you have your strength, you have your strengths. That's just a great team right there. So you mentioned just a little bit about COVID because you guys opened up in 2019, December. So late 2019, yeah?
Yeah, actually, we opened October 30th.
Oh, October. Okay.
October 30th, 2019. We were going on data from just basically 2 hotels in Hampton over at Kamakana, Ali'i, and then our sister property, Embassy. And, it was funny because even the Marriott people were like, don't worry. Yeah. You're only going to be like 30% for probably the first year. And like Kelly and I were like, 30%? Yeah. What are you talking about? We were going for 90 like the second week we're open. I mean, we had a year literally to plan and like a lot of community connections, making sure that we're very strategic in our decisions. And by the end of November, we were at 98%.
Wow.
And at the end of December, we had nearly sold out in December, which
we
traditionally,
oversold. Remember that?
Yeah. Christmas week. Oh my God, nightmare. Oversold by 26 rooms.
The newest kid on the block that we're having.
It was, I just remember walking in at Oliver going, B, just so you know, we're going to have to walk 28 rooms today. And I was like, what?
We're like, how is this possible?
Yeah, it was fun times. But yeah, I mean, we were amazingly successful. Definitely new kid on the block, but very community oriented from the very beginning. And I think that really kind of helped seal the deal. And then March 28th, COVID hit.
Right.
Mulligan year. I mean, we always use the word pivot around here. We had, March 28th was like scary and nobody knew what was going on. And we're an extended stay hotel. And we had so many people that this literally was their home at that point.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of hotels were closing. And like, I just remember looking at Kelly and being like, ownership's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to shut or do you want to stay? It's going to be tough. You're, on Oahu. And we knew we had to stay open for, the 22 plus rooms that this was their home at that point.
Yeah.
So there was no guidelines. There was no CDC recommendations. There was a lot of fear and paranoia and, we just kind of went with what we knew. And it's kind of funny because, cleanliness and sanitation should always be a part of any hotel plan from the beginning. And I felt like we had, a really solid crew and we knew from the start of that, not knowing how it was transmitted. I mean, we went the opposite end, like the thermometers and everybody's like the minute they walk in the door, like, did you cough? I know you coughed. Go home right now. Come back with a doctor's note. But I mean, knock on wood, to this day, I mean, we've had only 2 incidents of our employees that have contracted COVID. Both were outside of work, both family receptions. And we've managed to keep our guests safe and our team safe. We had to pursue business where there was business.
Right.
And that's where Kelly came in. You know, she's used to running this house at like 20 to 40% group. And we had to pivot to being 80 to 90% group because there was no FIT, no transient travel whatsoever. So that's been a major shift for us. You know, how we have to look at our pukas and our holes and try to fill it in with either special events or community minded activities to get through. But we've been really successful. I mean, if you look at 2020, we finished the year at 78% occupancy year round.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
And then looking into this year, you know, our biggest thing, just, you know, being community minded, was we just saw the fear and the lack of joy. And we were like, man, whatever we can do to help stop that, mitigate that, bring some joy back to the community. And then, you know, combine that with, you know, small businesses that were hurting. And that's how we've kind of, our philosophy moving forward, really, which ties into the night market, which you were witness to see. And that's been that's 100% Kelly's idea. So I'll let her talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of, before we hit record, I think a lot of us have kind of thrown that word pivot around and, you know, and new normal, whatever that means. But, normal, I think we should always be striving. Like you talk about growth mindset, like you never want to be stagnant. Like you always want to be
absolutely
going forward.
Yeah.
So from your seat, Kelly, what was that like 2020 and thinking outside the box, which has probably always been like a mindset of yours?
1,000%. I mean, I think we blew up the box, first of all, but you know, aside from the fear, paranoia, in weird ways, I don't even know how to articulate this, but there was so much self-guilt because there were so many other of our colleagues that had lost their jobs, other colleagues that were more qualified than myself, years of experience, master's degrees. I mean, just the fact that they lost their job overnight. And here we are bustling, you know, at like 60, 70, 80% at some point. And so there was some self-guilt that you're kind of reflecting on. I mean, I think even like 2 weeks ago, I think I went into B's office and I was like, how in the world did we end up here? How in the world did we stay open? You know, aside from brick and mortar, you know, we are an extended stay hotel. So naturally we did get the essential worker business, healthcare workers, stranded, a lot of stranded families, believe it or not, local families that say their kitchen burnt on fire or they're restructuring or, you know, something happened to their home or there's an emergency. A lot of stranded diplomats, like their families, you know, so with the travel restrictions. So a lot of people are like, oh, you must be filled with military. And I'm like, actually, it's like a very interesting array of guests. But I just kind of had to like reflect and just be so thankful and so grateful that we had the opportunity to open this hotel, to stay open safely and responsibly. And in little ways, like Bryan said, give back to the community. And if it was a food drive, if it was supporting a small business, if it was supporting a nonprofit, giving
internship programs,
complimentary rooms, you know, to U.S. vets or to hospital, you know, workers. So, I mean, there were so many programs, you know, throughout the year. It was, you know, definitely a give back program that, you know, it's your responsibility. You're open. You have to somehow give back. And like Bryan said, our mix of business definitely changed. I just recently went to a seminar and it's interesting that our data aligns so much with other mainland extended stay hotels that did stay open, you know, that are in not necessarily rural areas, but that had to house essential work, which is basically what we're doing throughout the year. So aside from that, moving into 2021, like Bryan said, I couldn't agree with that more, is that we kind of we hate to say we call ourselves the trendsetters, but being open, you know, we did have that advantage. And it did feel like just another day in the office, but how did we up our game, whether we did a night market or whether we did internships for the high school, you know, whether we, gosh, I mean, there's like so many, it's like so hard.
Clothing drives, food drives.
I mean, even people celebrating it, even a drive-by birthday, right? Just something so simple that you think, right, that any little thing we could to, like Bryan said, to bring joy was our goal. And so I think that's the real goal for 2021 is to start bringing back joy to families. I joke about this all the time, but I want to get ordained. I want to get my license. So like,
She wants to be a drive-through wedding.
I want to do
Love
like
it.
drive-through weddings out of my office and get people married, and so that people can start families. And this is just like crazy stuff that we think about, but don't tempt me because I'll probably do it. And
She did
And
get
we can.
ordained, by the way. So
You did or didn't?
she has her
I'm
license.
thinking about,
you do? Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
You could just get it online. I didn't realize how
I know,
easy it
yeah.
was. It's crazy.
You too, for $9.95, can be an ordained
I
minister.
know.
Past life, I was a pastor. Like,
What?
Canada,
Oh
really?
my
Yeah,
gosh. So
Yeah.
maybe you can give me some tips
Yeah, okay.
because I mean, I definitely don't want to do like the funeral side, but I'll definitely do the one. I want to,
But the fun and funeral. That's
Oh my
Kitashima.
So Hawaii's Best though is a smidgen, right, of your portfolio, or is that like your main?
it's I would say half.
Half,
of,
okay.
Like Hawaii's Best started about 3 years ago. Really put traction into it about a year and a half ago. So looking to even like double down more and actually like start hiring people to like help. What's cool is like Hawaii's not a hard sell,
Right.
but I think people are looking more for the true. You talk about culture, even like on the West Side, they want to know like where do the locals go, or where
I know.
like
I
you know what I
stress
mean?
that, yeah.
So it's its own world. It's its own
It's authentic, right?
right.
Yeah. Well, what I think is so cool about Oahu, I mean, not to snob against the other neighbor islands, but on Oahu, you have history, whether it's Pearl Harbor, you have the only palace in all of North America,
Right.
Bishop Museum, and then you have the North Shore with town and country. So you have Waikiki, you
Yeah.
have North Shore. So I think you get all these cool elements and dining, shopping, entertainment, but still being able to feel that emphasis of Hawaii by going on a hike on the east side or something. So I don't think you can really get all those components on the neighbor islands, with
totally
the exception
agree.
of Big Island, but you see the volcano for one day and then
I mean, not even though. I mean, Big Island, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, all the islands are unique in their own way,
Yeah.
but I think definitely Oahu has the largest variety of options for people.
But you're right. We skip over that historic. We skip over that
Right.
cultural. We skip over that. And I know there's a kuleana, a responsibility kind of initiative going on with HVCB and
Right.
HTA. And so I hope that a lot more hotel partners, and once we start moving into normalcy pre C-19, that can be an emphasis to visitors, as they come in.
But really at the heart of it, it's kind of what you guys are already doing, because you talk about these market nights and it's about supporting local, and it's about partnering with the community that you're in. And I think you guys are in this unique kind of position to be able to do that. You kind of have the freedom to be able to partner with
1,000%.
this community. And whereas if, in your Waikiki, you're a little bit more restricted, you kind of have to do the thing there. But like here, I mean, you're talking about doing food drives, you're talking about doing the market nights and bringing in local vendors. I mean, really for people to experience that, I think that is in itself, really what Hawaii is all about. It's really about the people, about the culture, and obviously celebrating the beautiful land and what it is. But talking about those market nights, maybe just because we shared, if you follow Hawaii's Best, we shared a couple of days ago from the time of the recording what that was like. We celebrated the
Chinese New Year.
yeah, right. But maybe from your guys' perspective and words, you kind of already spoke about the heart of it, but what can somebody expect? They're coming on the West Side. Maybe they're staying here, maybe they're not, but what can they expect from a Friday night market?
So twofold, right? So think about it from an entrepreneur standpoint. Once we went into lockdown 1, then 2.0, there was no avenue for any of these small businesses to showcase their items. So like, for example, Merry Monarch, right, which is the largest hula festival on the Big Island, postponed, canceled.
Right.
Made in Hawaii Festival, Baby Expo. I mean, every craft fair, major craft fair you could like think of where that would be your major show of the year, canceled. So, unfortunately everything is so town centric and nothing is really featured here on the West Side unless you paid a vendor fee or unless you knew somebody of a somebody, right? So, part of our give back to the community was opening up this beautiful venue that we have look at this dining room, right?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because we are in the tier system that we are, sits empty and is not utilized. So what better way to utilize it and give the venue some life to it, give it some energy by bringing in local leeward side vendors, in addition to, of course, our popular food trucks. They have their own kind of following, but it was really just to give them a stress-free venue. We did not charge any vendor fees, any commissions, any setup fees.
Oh, wow.
We handled all the marketing, all the collateral, all the planning, all the collaboration, organized entertainment. Bryan has great relationships with the live entertainment world. My family actually is related to the Chinese lion dance crew, but kind of just incorporating, all those little things, and it all kind of came together for that particular night. But it's at the end of the day, we just got an email yesterday, one of the vendors, because of that night, was able to pay for her daughter's 7th surgery.
Oh.
So it's like little nuggets like that you're like, man, there's so much hard work and sweat tears that are on the back end that I'm like,
I can't tell you how many vendors came up to me Friday night and were like, thank you, I can pay my rent. Like, seriously. Like, it's crazy. And to think that we had an opportunity to help them with that is just immense. And not even just that. You look at our guests and, they don't want to be held captive in their rooms, And I think we've gotten to the point where it's 2021. Wear a mask, wash your hands, don't be stupid. You're going to be fine. Let's get on with life.
Exactly.
Stop worrying about it. If you are susceptible, stay away. If you're not, come down, be smart, help support local, because all these people are in the same boat, if not worse than you. And as a community, we can only rely on each other. Kelly's always like, we're going to get in trouble. They're going to say that we have all this people here. And I'm like, calm down. It's going to be fine. Like, that's the difference between us. She's like to the T. And I'm like, it'll be great. Don't worry about it.
He's like, should I order a Ferris wheel?
We literally had this. Well, EK Fernandez is probably not using their Ferris wheel. I'm sure they could, but that's what, what it was all about. And going through it like Friday night, it's just overwhelming, the amount of people that are just like, can you do it again? And so kind of our commitment is we'll do it again until things get back to somewhat normalcy. Because, it's not fair that just Target and Costco are open and all these mom and pop places have kind of suffered. And, so many are out of work and everybody's got a side hustle. Everybody's got to make something, to do something to pay their bills in Hawaii. And if we can help support them in that way, we're going to do it.
What's great about it is you felt the community here, like it
wasn't like International Marketplace in Waikiki or something. It was straight up like from the, and
that was probably like personally my first experience, like actually being around people in like a year, you know what I mean? Like you felt the energy, like there's this energy that's the thing I think we've kind of, I think at the heart of all of us is just that energy of that collectiveness of being together. And that was something that was really like, the food was great. The vendors were amazing, but like the energy of like this coming together was really special.
Yeah. You don't recognize it until it's been gone for so long, right?
Yeah.
That's the crazy part of it. Just like live entertainment, listening to somebody sing live.
Goodness.
And being able to share their passion.
Yeah.
I look at all these like Zoom concerts and stuff like that. And it's like, it's not the same. It's not the same as being right up there and being able to listen to an entertainer tell the story behind it and feel the energy in the room. And
it's crazy. Like we were over at, where were we at? We were at Monkey Pod the other night for dinner. And like, I get chills just thinking about it. The guy performing, like that was his first live sound, and I'm a musician. I did the whole music thing, and that's not like my core is like how I speak is like through music, like that just moves, and especially with the Hawaiian culture for me, that's like so like you could feel it in the music. And what was amazing, this guy was performing at Monkey Pod, and I don't know how many times we've been there, and whenever I would say pre 2020, someone would end the song and you hear a couple
claps. But like, what was so special, like he ended the song and like people were
Everybody
just
was
like going crazy. Like that was just like, so kind of touch on your point, just that collective, energy. So the West Side, I love the West Side. The West Side is the best side, like hands down. We fell in love with Hawaii here, and this is kind of where our heart is. Talking a little bit about Kapolei, and I think people are very familiar with Waikiki, Honolulu, even North Shore, but Kapolei is expanding and has grown so much. Like,
yeah, I remember when I moved here in 2000 and I drove all the way out here and it was like desert and then
the water park.
Wet and Wild.
Totally, right?
And I was like, oh my God, well, this is like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now you look around and you're like, what the heck happened out here? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really
And that was
is.
always a plan, right? There was always supposed to be the second city. And I'm so glad that it's finally coming to fruition. But if we're part of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce, and every year they do kind of like a year-end recap. And, James Campbell obviously they oversee kind of the master plan of Kapolei. But if you see the 5-10-year plan, it is
completely crazy.
I mean, I almost feel like it's Vegas 2.0.
Oh, gosh.
Because the expansion.
Well, it might be a casino soon.
I know,
Fingers
knock
crossed.
on wood. But I mean, because I lived there for 5 years, and so it's so funny seeing these like empty parcels of land, and then like 6 months later, boom, there's like Kaiser, high tech, their new high tech medical facility, and so just the outlook, the 5-10-year outlook, they're not stopping. It's going to expand. It's going to look like a actual city, but
better infrastructure.
I was going to say like the infrastructure of it all is.
Yeah, I was going to say now, but I think we've had time to plan, and it's not like we're trying to, build so many high rises upon high rises, but there is something so special and historic actually about Kapolei. And so a lot of people don't even realize there's a heritage center here. A lot of people don't realize that the airport is still being utilized. They're actually going to be utilizing it as a major refueling station for a lot of airplanes. So, I mean, regardless of that, though, just between Campbell Industrial, there's like 10,000 plus homes on the Hawaiian home side, plus new rental. So, of course, there's a lot of working families here. So, looking at a segment that can't necessarily put 20% down, but can rent. So, a lot of the projects that are up and coming are going to be rentals for locals. So, all that, in addition to the rail, that perhaps might be
which may or may not be operating anytime soon.
So I just had to no, but I mean, it's just, gosh, in the 2 year, in the 2 years that we've been here, the amount of
literally it's just a dirt lot. I mean, I remember coming over here with Kelly and looking at it, and she's like, wait, this is going to be the hotel? And then, it was us, and then boom, upswing Hele, and then boom, upswing Starbucks, and then boom, here comes Raising Cane, and the Kidney Foundation is building their Hale, and then sneak peek, our owners are building a third hotel here, getting ready. So, I mean, it's quite incredible, but I think the important part, like tying it back to the original thing, like is providing opportunities for local families so they do not have to drive.
Absolutely.
It's huge quality. Like it's the one thing in life you can't put a dollar amount on is time. Like, what is your time worth?
Yeah.
Would you rather spend an hour with your kids, or would you rather spend an hour sitting in traffic? And like for our staff, I just remember like the week we opened, we went and did this beach cleanup to give back to the local community. And I had like 3 of the housekeepers in the back of my car. And now these ladies all live Waianae, all worked Waikiki hotels. And I didn't realize that the bus ride from Waianae into Waikiki was 3.5 hours.
Oh my
one
goodness.
way. So these ladies were working 8-hour shifts and then basically sitting on a bus for 6 hours, and like would bring their kids with them and enroll them into schools near Waikiki just so they could make it work. And just remember driving to the beach and like them sitting in the back of my truck crying their eyes out, like, and then I'm crying my eyes out, but it didn't really sink in until that moment, like how life changing this was for a lot of them. a lot of them. And now to look at them and they're like, they're going to soccer practice with the kids. And like, this was never on their agenda before, and that's really where you look at like how we've made an impact on families and local families. And, I credit Kelly all the world for getting us back up so quick. I mean, we had a little bump in March to mid-April, but we brought back 80% of our staff within a month. So a lot of other hotels still don't have their staff back. And even our hotel, I mean, other than our bartenders and our F&B team, every single person's back. So, I mean, that's incredibly, like, we pride ourselves on that. Even the fact that even those that have been are still laid off, we're still paying their medical insurance, just because it's the right thing to do.
Honorable.
Right.
So
That's honorable. If someone's not familiar with the West Side, what are some things, because really we're right in the heart of Kapolei here.
completely.
What are some things people, if they're planning, a trip, what can they look forward to over here on the West Side? Even though you can drive in the Waikiki, it's about a 40, it's so, but like from your guys' perspective.
I mean, for me, like what you just said is like the key proponent, I think, for being here is like, it's so centrally located to everything. Like you literally can be anywhere on this island within 40 minutes. But as far as Kapolei, like the beaches around here are amazing. Like, and everybody, it's so funny to me, like everybody talks about going to Ko Olina and like the man-made, like that to me just feels artificial. Like it's the whole Disney thing. Like I'd much rather go to the beach, literally right across the street, just because it's just stunning and it's natural. Nobody goes there because they don't know about it. Those are like the kind of little hidden gems. The trails up in the mountains behind us, the lodge up there is fantastic. Let alone there's shopping galore. And you don't really feel like it's all the Fendis, the Gucci's, the Harry Weinstein, or what is it, Harry Winston?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I shop at Target.
Yeah, you got a Target 5 minutes away.
No,
everything's here.
Like, seriously though,
everything's here. I mean, it's so great that like you're just like, oh yeah, I can run in there. I can be there in 5 minutes.
Well, you did a survey. I clicked onto your survey. You're like, where's the best sunset in Oahu or something? And I was going to type in Kapolei, but then I was like, oh, like maybe people don't get it, right? See, even I'm still I still self-doubt myself. But I think it's twofold. I mean, there's so many secret hidden gems. And like you said, it's real true community at its finest here. I'm on the board of Uluwa'e, and Uluwa'e formed out of a hula halal. So a hula class, a gal that was working as a teacher, then formed a hula halal, and then now has like little different pillars that make up this organization. And one of them is the Kapolei Hula Festival. I had no idea until I was part of the board. There's a Kapolei Hula Festival.
Wow. Okay.
She also puts on a makahiki. So makahiki in Hawaiian is like traditional Hawaiian, like almost like the Olympics for, I guess, traditional war games. And she does it on the corporate side. So a lot of other hotels like Four Seasons and Aulani, she'll do that for, but she'll also do it for the community. So there's so many little, like I said, special little nuggets that I was even completely unaware of. Did you know there was a train that took residents from Ewa to town? That train track still exists here.
The largest lava tubes on Oahu are right here in Kapolei. And
the Ewa, my parents actually live in the older side of Ewa Beach. And so if you go down kind of more, to kind of cut through, but kind of closer, I guess, maybe to Pearl Harbor side. But those are like just some old school natural beaches that nobody really knows about. And so this side I love how it's still not fully developed, like a Kaka'ako or as well Waikiki. And it's funny, we actually get a lot of guests that move out of Waikiki because it almost feels like a little claustrophobic, and they want the openness and the style of hotel that we have here. It's kind of like your Hawaiian home away from home. And so from a brand standpoint, our tagline is travel like you live. And so we really want to make it as most comfortable and as most homey feel as we can.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little raw. It's a little wild. It's, it's not high rises everywhere. You actually feel like you're in a residential community surrounded by true natives. I mean, I can't tell you how many of our employees have brought guests back to their baby's first luau or like graduation parties. Like it constantly amazes me how giving our team is of like, oh yeah, I'll take you around North Shore. I'll take you up, Haleiwa. And like, it's just natural. Like just the fact that they give of themselves so freely on their date. Like they're like, they have 2 days off a week and they'll take our guests around because they just bond with them so great. And you don't really see that a lot of other hotels, particularly in Waikiki. I mean, don't get me wrong. I worked in Waikiki a long time and fantastic people there, but it's a different form of aloha that's spoken there than it is here, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely attest to that. And if someone's coming for the very first time or maybe has come year after year, experiencing that sunset in Waikiki is a special moment too. And I think personally, some of the best sunsets on Oahu are right here, So someone's planning a trip right now and you're listening to this right now. Of course, you're listening to this because you're listening to this.
Sorry.
I always love that. Like if you're listening
or
to
they're a
this,
reformed pastor passing their time.
But from your guys' perspective, if someone's planning a trip, just maybe let's stick on Oahu. What are you got to make sure you do that, or what are just some tips that you would give someone planning a trip?
My number one don't do is I get it, like Florida, I get it, Texas, I get it, some parts of California, you don't like to wear your masks, but here we wear our masks and we do it for you. Like I can't think of any better definition of aloha. It comes from our hearts to keep you safe and healthy. Please respect that and respect the culture. I think that's like the definite thing. The number two is, for things to do, definitely come by residents in Kapolei,
of course,
and meet our team. Absolutely.
I think I'm going to really keep it simple. I mean, like you said, like we kind of talked about, just Oahu is such a blend of cultural, historic, nightlife, shopping, you can everything that you'd kind of want on one island. But I just bring it back to like a simple concept of malama ka'aina, which is just take care of the land and it'll take care of you. But, especially if you're a visitor, of course, educate yourself. There's just so many resources, between your podcast and online resources. But I think now more than ever, we have a responsibility to take care of, if I'm coming to visit whether a particular island, whether it's Maui, Big Island, Oahu, Lanai, Kauai, that you are a visitor, that you have to be mindful that people do call this place home. So like simple things like pick up your rubbish, say thank you. And like you said, be respectful of the culture, and like perhaps things aren't done the same way as it is done in your part of the country or part of the world. But really we have a responsibility to the island that we live on, because resources are so limited here and you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But I do encourage anybody that comes, I think also should have a partial, I would say maybe need or want to give back some way and somehow. And there's so many awesome programs. I know HTA has a Malama program basically. So a lot of the hotels are partnering with a local nonprofit or an organization that is Malama Ka'aina. So like ours is with a local nonprofit here where you can go to camp for a day and learn about, the different cultural practices. You can go and plant a tree on behalf of your family or your organization or yourself. It's tracked, it's GPS. You get a certificate for planting a tree, and the carbon offset of that is like phenomenal. And so like, how cool is it just to, be able to give back to the Aina, then to also, have something to take back with you, knowing that you're leaving, an awesome carbon footprint here. But there's just so many other things to do, whether it's from the keiki or kupuna or the children or the elderly standpoint too, that's been negatively impacted in 2020. So I would highly encourage anybody just to, again, malama ka'aina and come with a growth mindset to come and learn and give back. If you have 2 hours of your time during your trip, what better way and what a feel good way to go home is to give back.
Those are the things that you'll take with you and will impact you for years to come.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can eat a shave ice and remember that in a photo, right? But like, how awesome would it be to deliver a meal to, right, an elderly
100%.
family or, yeah.
So find those opportunities.
Yeah.
For us, it's felt like home staying here. So I just want to say thank you guys publicly. Just thank you so much for your hospitality and for welcoming us here.
Pleasure. I mean, that's the important part. We wanted this to feel like everybody's home. It's not stuffy. It's not something that it's not meant to be. It is literally like you're at Kel's house, you're at Bryan's house, and take your shoes off, feel comfortable. Can we get you something? Okay. Do you need help with something? Perfect. Like we're there for you. And just relax. It's not overly stuffy. It's going to be comfortable. Particularly now during the times that we're in when everybody's so anxiety is running rampant amongst people. Fear is running rampant around people. Like our team, like God bless them. They all smile. It's always aloha. They always acknowledge everybody in the hallways. That goes a long way in making that whole feeling that we talked about in the very beginning, building the culture.
Yeah.
So
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Well, Kelly and Bryan, thank you so much for coming on today. Appreciate both of you guys. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Our pleasure.
We'll see
Thank
you
you.
this fall.
That's right.
we'll book you now.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to Bryan and Kelly for their hospitality and to the team here at Residence Inn. It really is and has been such a cool experience. That market that we talked about quite a bit during the interview was a really cool experience because you got to see and feel the community come out and just have a good time together. That's something that you don't get to experience a lot in some of the kind of resort areas. So definitely check out Residence Inn in Kapolei. It's especially if you're traveling as a family. We're a family of 5, and we stayed in their 2-bedroom suite, and it was just the right amount of space with a couple rooms, little kitchen, and it was great. It's, there's a Target right here, there's a Costco right here. So if you're family, you probably totally, get all that. On next week's episode, I'm going to be talking about how to travel to Hawaii right now, specifically what it all means doing the Safe Travels program and filling out all the questionnaires and getting tested and how to fly and where to get tested, where not to get tested. So stay tuned for that one. You're going to want to hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time and listening to today's episode. And until next time, be well. Aloha.
Thanks for listening to Hawaii's Best Travel Podcast. To stay up to date on future episodes, be sure to subscribe. For more information to help you plan your next trip to Hawaii, visit hawaiisbesttravel.com.